A few weeks back, I wanted to take a look at some things that were rather cool that you might not have really even known existed, but they were some rarer items within the Call of Duty world. We talked about those on a scale of about 3 years or so, but today I wanted to do something a little bit different, kind of continue that trend of taking a look at the rarest items, but more specifically rarest camos in Call of Duty, but in Call of Duty overall, not just limiting it to a 3-year time frame, but instead taking a look at the franchise overall, since camos were introduced as, say, different specific exclusive items or rarer, harder to get items. I want to take a look at all of those, so today we're going to be breaking down 10 of the rarest camos in Call of Duty history. Hopefully I can end up nailing this a little bit on the head in terms of the descending order from 10 to 1, but you guys might disagree with some of the placements, totally cool, but if there is definitely something that I missed as well, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what I should add for maybe a follow-up video if there's enough to do that with, and also what your favorite might be here out of the whole lot. But that said, let's just jump right into it. Starting out at number 10, we're gonna couple two together because they were actually obtained via the same way and you got both at the same time if you ended up getting them. That being the weaponized 115 as well as cyborg camos in Black Ops 3. Now, this was something that these weren't the first time we saw these camos, and as for camos that returned to a game as fan favorites, at the time I was kind of curious why weaponized 115 and cyborg were those choice camos when Black Ops 2 actually had a decent amount of camos that were rather cool, but this was only obtainable via the hardened Digital Deluxe and Juggernog editions of Black Ops 3. And to my knowledge, this was never gifted to the general public at any point, so it is still something that does have a semi-limited quantity of them out there. But that said, the weaponized 115 camo and the cyborg camo are interesting in their own rights. The weaponized 115 actually changes the base canvas of the weapon at some points to a sort of light gray, but then also fills out some of the rest with the Element 115 themed camo, but it doesn't fill the entire canvas. So that's one thing that I was kind of always off-put by, especially compared to the Black Ops 2 version of it, which did cover the entire weapon canvas. And cyborg is something that is nice to look at, but it also isn't the cleanest of the camos that we see in Black Ops 3. But that said, again, they're a little limited, but that's gonna kick us off into the 10th spot. Number 9 is gonna be a little bit more recent though. We're gonna be going back to Infinite Warfare just last year now at this point. We're gonna be taking a look at the Bullet Hawk camo, and this was one that is, again, very similar to what we'll see in number 8, but did have an additional way to get it, so it wasn't as limited or as rare as some of the other ones we'll be talking about in comparison. But that said, the Bullet Hawk camo was available firstly as a GameStop exclusive, but then was offered up later on as a Digital Deluxe Edition item, as well as a Legacy Pro item if I'm not mistaken. Now there were 3 ways to get this, but if you're like me, you might not still have it even, because there was the Legacy Edition in which it gave you Modern Warfare Remastered alongside Infinite Warfare. There was the base game, there was ways that you could end up buying things compartmentalized, and so therefore you kind of had a 50-50 chance on depending on what version you wanted to end up getting of this. But it was something that was only available via those 3. The camo itself looks nice, a sort of metallic, clean and polished camo, and one that of course is definitely cool to have in your arsenal if you got one of those editions. But number 8 is actually going to once again continue a little bit of the trend with Infinite Warfare and the Digital Deluxe Edition, because this is the Hellstorm camo. Now this is one that was again available only via Digital Deluxe, and as a result there wasn't as many ways to go about getting this one. To me, I think this one looks by and far better than the Bullet Hawk camo. It is something that of course is an animated camo, as well as is a lot more vibrant than that of what the Bullet Hawk camo offered, and so just in that regard, I'm much more of a bigger fan with this one, but definitely very cool. And unlike the Bullet Hawk camo, it's a little bit more reactive to the environments that you're in. So if you're in a darker environment, it lights up a little bit more. Obviously, if you're in the direct sunlight of the game, you're not going to necessarily see that glow, but it is something that is available there. Before this one only having one specific way to get this, it's a little more rare in my books compared to the other Infinite Warfare camo we just mentioned. But how about we move away from what we can just end up getting via different versions of the game? Let's talk about some things that are actually very tough in terms of grind worthy, or that are actually things that you can no longer get, or things that you could only get for a small window. So the next one up on this list is what we talked about in the last video, kind of. Chrome Tiger is still what I think is one of the more rare camos within Call of Duty overall. Now this one, we saw the introduction of Dark Matter in Black Ops 3, where you had to get Diamond on every single weapon to unlock Dark Matter. That was a sort of new tier that was ushered in within Black Ops 3 of camos, but then we also ended up seeing Infinite Warfare playing a little bit more on that, where you had to get to a certain prestige and then get all your weapons maxed out with camos. And then we saw Modern Warfare Remastered had Exclusion Zone, where it was the same thing, and then as of recently, we had Chrome within World War II. But Chrome Tiger takes this even further, because you have to prestige each of your weapons 4 times to end up getting all of the max challenges for that, get camos for those weapons, but also have Chrome available as well. So you kind of have to take 2 and 2 and put them together so that you have diamond on every weapon to get Chrome, and then whenever you end up getting diamond on every weapon and getting Chrome, you have to then prestige your weapons that you want to get Chrome Tiger for so that you can end up getting the challenges and get those gold leopard and gold cheetah, and then they mix together and make Chrome Tiger. So in that sense, it kind of takes that grind mentality of getting camos to an entirely different level, and is something that of course is definitely rare in that sense that not many players have it. So this one for the actual grind, I don't know if you'd say it's entirely worth it. It's an awesome looking camo, but I don't think it's the best ones. I think that some of the Master Prestige rewards in World War II do make it look a little bit better, but still, I would definitely take it if I had it, but sadly, I'm nowhere near done with that grind. But that said, let's move over into some more exclusive camos. We're gonna take a jump back in time to Modern Warfare 3, and we're gonna take a look firstly at the Winter Camo. Now this is one that was actually available on all consoles for a very limited time, but it was primarily made as a camo specific for the Wii version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. And you might be shocked to hear that Call of Duty was on the Wii at one point. Didn't last too long, but there was a version of Modern Warfare 3 that once you prestiged once on the Wii version, you ended up getting the Winter Camo. Also, it was available as an Elite Founding Member exclusive. So if you guys remember back to Modern Warfare 3 and slightly thereafter, we ended up having the Elite program in Call of Duty, which was essentially the way the content was given to players as a DLC normally would be currently. We saw that we later had the Season Pass, but this was before that, where every month players got a handful of things, whether it be face-off maps or an actual map or Spec Ops missions. You had some of that stuff all thrown in the mix here with Elite, and the Founding members were the ones that were the first into the program, and also they ended up getting some more extra bonus goodies in terms of some smaller things, but also earlier times to end up getting that content. So the Founding members were something you had to take advantage of very, very quickly, and this was one of the things you ended up getting for it, the Winter Camo. That said, we can also jump over to the 5th item on the list here, because that's another Elite Founding member exclusive, that being the Marine Camo, which again did start out as only a Wii exclusive for prestiging once, but then it was later added in, so it did have a little more rarity to it at the very start, but then it ended up becoming another Elite Founding member item as well. So this was something that, again, as with what we just mentioned, it was available for those that got in for a limited time. I think the window to sign up for Elite as a Founding member was 1 to 2 months overall, and back then, whether or not you were there from the very beginning of Call of Duty or not, it still was a very small window to hit that mark and get that camo. So you're probably like a lot of people that do not have this available to them, and as such, it's lost to the sands of time. Breaking into our top 4, we're gonna end up going with one that is a little more grindy, but a little bit more in terms of price as well, because we're gonna talk about Modern Warfare Remastered's Arctic Wolf Camo, which this is something that was an overall collection reward within Modern Warfare Remastered, and it's rather exclusive in the sense that there's so much that goes into getting this. 64 collections is what it takes, that you have to complete all of those, and if you were to do that with just straight up credits, that is a ton of grinding you have to do, and in terms of monetary value, it's up near the $1,000 range if you were to, say, buy out everything via supply drops. That's give or take, obviously, because once you buy supply drops, it ends up becoming an RNG thing where you could get some awesome items towards those, or you could get a ton of duplicates in terms of just the lower tier stuff that still wouldn't help you out much. It's very similar to what we talked about another collection in the last video, the Captain Price overall collection. Very similar to that one, same amount of collections you needed to complete, and also price point wise very similar as well as such. But that said, this was one that looked rather nice, but was it worth going for all that grinding? I don't know if I would say so, but if you end up having it, you're definitely in that 1% of players that do have this overall within the Call of Duty franchise. But after that, we're gonna jump into our final 3, which we do start to see some different things that are repeats from the video that we talked about beforehand, that being the Takeout Camo from Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. Now, this was a pre-promotion event for Black Ops 3 by these fast food restaurants, and there was something that was done for a very limited time. Again, probably about a month to a month and a half this promotion started, but where it gets a little trickier and where it becomes a little more rare even is that you didn't actually get guaranteed to get the camo overall, because they ended up giving you with your receipts one of 6 codes that you could end up redeeming, and that was something you could end up plugging into a website with Call of Duty linked to your account, and it would then redeem on your account. But you had the option to get overall the entire personalization pack, which is great because you get everything in that one. You could end up getting some reticles as one, you could end up getting the camo as one, and then you could end up getting a calling card and an emblem or something like that, where it was all broken into one, but you could have the chance of getting the jackpot of getting them all with one code. But that said, myself included in this, a lot of people missed out on either the camo or the full customization pack, and as such, it makes it a lot more rare because you had about a 30% chance of actually getting that camo, whether you got the full customization pack or just the camo with a code. But in that 1 month time frame as well, it became rather sought after and something rather exclusive. But that said, that's gonna move us over into the second one here, number 2, the penultimate on the list, that being one of my personal favorites, the COD XP camo from Black Ops 3. Now this was only available to those that attended COD Champs for the Black Ops 3 year, in which we ended up seeing at that event the debut of multiplayer gameplay for Modern Warfare Remastered as well as Infinite Warfare, COD Champs for Black Ops 3, but along with that, if you ended up getting a certain level of ticket, you also had access to a download code which gave you the COD XP camo within Black Ops 3. And as this being an event where only a few thousand people attended, and also where you had to have a certain level of ticket to get this code, the camo is something with a very limited and finite number to them, and as such, I haven't seen many people I've come across in-game in Black Ops 3 out of the 3 years that it's almost been active now, that I've come across somebody else with this camo. So to me, this is probably my prized possession out of the camos on the current generation of consoles. But that said, is it my overall most coveted possession of camos within Call of Duty? I don't think so, because that's going to take us to the number 1 and final spot here I want to talk about today, that being the Spectrum camo from Call of Duty Ghosts. Now this was something that, unfortunately, I personally no longer have access to mine because I had mine on my 360, to which I then got a different 360 and it never transferred over via hard drive, and you can't end up transferring it for 360 to Xbox One as well. Because that said, there was only 5,000 codes of these available ever. But the thing is, they were also split between Xbox One and 360, so divide that number in half, and you end up having a more limited number of these available. But this was only available to players that either pre-ordered Call of Duty Ghosts on the Microsoft Store, or to GameStop employees that completed a training module on Microsoft products. Now that is something that of course makes it a lot tougher to get, especially when you don't pre-order off the Microsoft Store, but there were definitely people that had a ton of these at their disposal and put them on eBay and all things considered. But it was definitely at the time, and I still even think looking back, definitely the most sought after camo within Call of Duty history. It was something that there was so little of them, but everybody wanted them because not only was it 1, awesome, 2, it was something that was so rare, so everybody wanted their piece of it. But that said, the Spectrum camo in my books, I think was probably my favorite overall to date in Call of Duty, not only as a camo, but it's definitely also what I think is the most rare in Call of Duty history. But that said, that's been our list of the 10 rarest camos in Call of Duty history. If there's anything that I missed, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, if you guys want to see more stuff like this, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as well. I got some cool things coming up on deck for other rare items in Call of Duty if you guys want to see that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty content, rarest items like this, Black Ops 4, World War II, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And of course, if you guys don't want to miss any of that, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Instagram, get a little more active over there for you guys to follow on that front if you guys want to as well. But that said, thank you all so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.